Okay, so today I'm gonna show my Partition app. And basically what this app is it's a personal finance tracker app to where I use the Plate API to make calls to financial institutions to get basic financial data about certain accounts. And so for this, I'll start my server. And basically the stack that I use for this is that I use Node.js with TypeScript in the back end. Then with the database, I use MongoDB. And I use Prism as a middleman, so it's not as annoying to work with. And then for the client side, I decided to make this work with Flutter. The reason for this is because I feel like a budgeting app is really the best when it's convenient. So the best way is to use it on my phone. However, for now, I'm just going to demo it on my simulator, as Apple has a lot of restrictions when trying to actually do things on the iPhone. And in the future, I may find a way to work around this or just make a web client, since a lot of ways of getting it onto the iPhone is through payment, which kind of sucks. So right now I'm opening up I already was running it, so I'm building it now. I'm gonna have it onto the simulator. So I'll cut to when this loads. Okay, so now my Partition app has finally loaded. And I have two options here. I can sign in or sign up. So for this showcase, I'm going to sign up. And then I worked with Google OAuth to make it where it have a more seamless user account creation. So I'm going to sign up with this. And I already have a few accounts already made. So I'm going to use this email. Okay, so sorry for the cut. I was already testing with this account, so I deleted that in the database, and I'm going to show registering with the account. So I'm going to use my Jackson's 808 email. I'm going to sign in with Google OAuth. Loads, one moment. On the server, it's successful, and now the client moves on to connecting with the bank. So for us to connect with my bank, it connects with the backend to get a access token, which then I will use, or not an access token, sorry. It gets a link, which then I can use, just send back to the client, which then the client can then use to open up this OAuth screen that Plate provides. And then these are sandbox credentials for Plate, since I'm not using real data at the current moment. So I'm going to submit these, and then I would choose these two accounts. Continue. And now that's successful. I will then send the public token to my backend, and then the backend will then ask Plate for a access token, which then it can use to actually get financial data. So now that I'm logged in, the way I have it work is that first we have three categories. We have need, wants, and investments. And the reason why I call it partition is because I want to split each of my income into separate categories with no in-betweens or other areas, which is what a partition is. So the way I want it to work is that we have transactions, and then right now I have to categorize them into certain budget areas. Now in the future, I may want to use maybe some type of model to automatically do this and make it quicker. I was thinking of maybe a way to select multiple one time and put them in a folder. But the current way I have it right now is I wanted to emulate like dating apps where you swipe left and right. For this one, you just click which type of transaction this is. So if I say, oh, this was a need, I had to pay a bill, I say need, then this gets sent to the server, and then the server updates it in the backend for your user account. So I'll say this was a want, this was also a want. Now again, this is fake data, as getting real data requires a lot more loopholes to jump through, and for demo purposes, I'm going to show it. So this part I'll skip ahead to where I finally finish this, and then I can continue on. Okay, so now that I finished most of them, I'm just going to show the last one. So this was a need because I needed to get home. So it says a need. And now that I finished that, I get back to the loan screen, and now I can see my total budget breakdown. So in my budget, since my income was $1,500 from the transactions that I've made, that means I was deposited $1,500 this month. I budgeted 50% of that into needs, which gives me $756, and I've only spent around $100. Not too bad. Then for my budget, or for my wants, I budgeted 30%, so I give me $450, and I spent also around $100. Pretty good. And then for investments, I give myself 20%, and then I've put $100 into these. Now, with these categories, they're a little abstract into what you consider them. And in the future of the app, I wanted to make it more clear on what they actually are. Because one thing that I want to emphasize with this app, at least for myself, is that I need to keep myself accountable and not go past these budgets each month, as spending is something that a lot of people in like the world sometimes have problems with. And I feel like this app is a way to make sure I don't overspend. And it was also a way for me to learn OAuth and actually system design of actually creating this full stack application, as there was many parts that had to work together in a seemingly simple app. Had a lot of more complicated parts with the database, OAuth especially, then having them communicate with the Flutter front end, which is a lot harder than just JavaScript. And in the future, what I want to do is make that categorization much faster, so I can just like select a bunch at the same time, or have AI categorize some of them automatically, so I don't have to say, oh, this is odd, like Walmart, obviously this should be needs. But like that's some of the problems, right? It's like, was all of it needs in the Walmart, which sometimes I may want to split up transactions into different areas. And that's something that because the main reason why I made this app was, one, to practice creating this full stack system, and another reason was so I can actually use this on my phone. Now the problem with actually using my phone is Apple is pretty strict on what goes on your device, which kind of sucks. So I would either need to pay, which $90 a year, which isn't the worst, but it's also like really annoying. And what I think I'm just going to do is make a web client on my personal website to where I can just use it on there and access the backend, which I will host somewhere that's not too expensive, maybe like Azure or maybe AWS EC2 instance. But yeah, and in the future, I want to also show transactions, because at the current moment, I didn't get to showing that yet, as I was still figuring out a way how I would actually lay out it. But I just want to show what I've created so far. And it's more of a client issue. All of it's stored in the backend. And yeah. And I can show you the schema for my backend. So the ID, this is the MongoDB ID. Then the email, every account be related to a unique email to make sure there's no duplicate accounts as much as possible. The username can be whatever. If you use a Google account, it's whatever the display name is. So the password depends on which one you use. If you use Google OAuth, you don't technically have a password, since Google does your password authentication. So when I log in with Google, I use the Google ID, log in with that. And there'll be a check to where I can just infer where if the Google ID is blank, then they check for the password, etc. Then the play token, this is the access token that's stored onto the backend, as if the client gets a hand on this and if someone bad uses this, they can access financial information, which is dangerous. And another layer I do is that I have a secret, and I use some web tokens to make sure to encrypt it, to where even if they got the data, they couldn't just read it. Then this is where the transactions are stored. So I only want to use the 30 days because budgeting really is like, if you use a full year or multiple years, it becomes too much. So a lot of times what people do is that they set it to 1 year. So first, whenever I get the data, they're automatically put in uncategorized transactions. Then whatever has a negative amount, which means that money is put into the account, it's a little backwards, but just bear with it, then it's put into the income transaction. Then once we start sorting through them, through the Tinder, knockoff, want, need, investment, then these will be put into these arrays and stored on the backend. And then the play cursor is just a way of playing to where you keep your position of when I ask for more information, I don't have to request all the information, I just request new information. And yeah, that's mainly what I want to show. And the code will be posted below. I won't obviously be sharing secrets. And yeah, thank you for watching. And if any questions, you can leave them in the comments. And yeah, thank you.